Chosen one, stop right now. Do not keep scrolling. Do not skip this video. Look directly at this message and listen very carefully. Don't let your mind wander for another second. Do not treat this as a coincidence. You were led here at this exact moment. And you need to hear this right now. God has chosen this very moment to stop you in your tracks. Because there is something you must hear before it is too late. There are times when a message comes not to comfort, but to awaken. And this is exactly one of those moments. The universe has just sent out an encoded signal, and that message is calling you by name. Not everyone will understand what is about to be said. Not everyone will feel the weight of it. But if you are still here, if your eyes are still resting on these words, then it is no coincidence. Something much deeper has drawn you here. Step away from all the noise, all distractions, and all unnecessary conversations, and listen closely, because if you only give this half your attention, you will miss the most important part. You may have felt deep within your heart for a long time that something is shifting. You may have been living in confusion and heaviness, unable to put a name to what is truly going on. But if you stay until the end, the truth behind everything you have felt, endured, and wondered about all this time will begin to unfold. And when that happens, you will understand why you cannot afford to ignore this moment. Welcome to the channel, Chosen Soul. If this is your first time here, and if you feel that this is not a coincidence, please stay until the very end. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and write down in the comments, "I am ready to receive this message." That simple act could be the defining marker confirming that you have heard the call meant for you. Slowly relax your tense shoulders. Find the quietest, safest corner you can right now and sit down. Because what comes next will give you chills as you see every hidden struggle in your heart completely understood. Look back at your recent days. Have these strange things been happening to you constantly? Your phone lights up. A familiar name is calling. But your first instinct isn't to happily answer it. Instead, it's a heavy sigh and a deep urge to just hit the mute button. Invitations to get-togethers, dinners, or weekend coffees, things that used to be fun, habits now feel like a massive burden. When forced to sit in a crowd, recall how your body reacted. You sit there, nodding, putting on a polite smile, but your mind has completely disconnected. The petty gossip putting others down, the pointless arguments, or the boasting about material things suddenly sound jarring, like a foreign language. You just want to stand up and leave immediately. And then, when you get back to your room and shut the door, your exhausted body collapses onto the bed. A bone-deep exhaustion washes over you, as if someone has drained gallons of blood from you, even though you haven't done a day of hard physical labor. Now, let's put an exact name to what is tearing you up inside. It is a suffocating, breathless feeling in spaces that used to be so familiar. It is an overwhelming sense of isolation and feeling lost. A cold sensation, as if you are some alien creature mistakenly dropped onto this planet. And the cruelest part of all is the inner torment and the panic. There are nights when you lie wide awake until 3 a.m., your chest tightening in panic. Your mind endlessly judges itself. Am I doing something wrong? Why have I become so irritable and eccentric? Am I falling into depression? Am I single-handedly destroying my relationships and backing myself into a corner? The fear of being judged, the fear of abandonment wraps around your throat like a rope. shredding whatever confidence you have left. Listen to me carefully. Stop judging yourself right now. Take a deep breath and accept this truth that exhaustion is real. That feeling of emptiness, that tightness in your chest, is also real. It is not something you are making up, nor is it a meaningless reaction. The fact that both your body and mind are reacting so strongly shows that a very profound shift is happening within you. It is as if your intuition is desperately trying to warn you that your surroundings and the people around you are no longer in harmony with the deepest part of your soul. That pain is real. That suffocation is real. And it is very likely carrying a message that you haven't yet recognized. But is everything you've believed up until now truly the right answer? And why isn't this happening to everyone else? Why does it keep finding you? Perhaps the real answer doesn't lie in what you can see and hear, but is hidden deep within another layer of meaning, which the next part of this message will begin to unveil. Stop looking at your current pain and feeling of drowning through earthly eyes. When viewed through the ordinary lens of the world, this state looks like nothing but a collapse. A person who was once radiant, full of energy, and a strong presence in the crowd is suddenly thrust into a freezing, suffocating silence. The world will rush to label that silence as depression, failure, or as the sign of someone isolating themselves from life. But this veil cannot be decoded using worldly thinking. It only becomes clear when viewed from the supreme perspective of the Creator. There is no punishment here, and nothing is random. The truth is, God is directly dismantling, purifying, and then redefining your entire life from its deepest foundations. He sees the spiritual identity of the Chosen One as a precious pearl carrying the DNA of pure light. And if that pearl continues to be tossed into noisy crowds, rolling around in empty revelry, and mixing with low vibrational values, its light will sooner or later become clouded. It would be eroded by envy, jealousy, toxic gossip, and the shallow standards of the world. God has clearly seen this poisoning process silently taking place day by day. He knows that without a decisive intervention to cut off the source of this infection, the light once placed inside the Chosen One would slowly fade away and vanish into the sea of the ordinary. That is why this isolation order was issued, not as a punishment, but as an emergency act of salvation to preserve the purity of a soul that carries a massive purpose. From that core preservation, he goes on to establish another principle. A being created to soar in the high heavens cannot continue to live forever in the cramped circles down below. The Bible says it very clearly, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles." Isaiah 40:31. A bird born to weather the storm cannot forever hover around the lowly movements of the earth, not because it is better, but because it belongs to a different altitude, a different rhythm, a different calling. God saw the future and came to a painful but absolutely necessary conclusion if he didn't actively break those shallow connections. If he didn't make those old environments so suffocating that you could no longer stay, the Chosen One would forever sleep in that false comfort zone. And human beings always tend to cling to the familiar, even when that very familiarity is silently killing their potential. That is why, lately, gatherings have suddenly become tasteless. The conversations around you have suddenly become grating, hollow, and utterly devoid of meaning. God is intentionally draining the joy out of the mundane to force an awakening to happen. The old people, the old habits, the old circles have fulfilled their historical role. Now, they are no longer a safe haven. They have become a cramped iron cage squeezing a soul that is far too large to remain imprisoned. The pain, The feeling of being lost and the suffocation that the chosen one is enduring are the violent contractions of the process of breaking that cage. If the cage isn't smashed to pieces, those wings will never have the chance to spread. The extreme isolation you are currently in, where all your old attention and familiar connections are pulled away from your life, is absolutely not a tragedy of abandonment. In a higher dimension, this is the most sacred, defensive cocoon the universe has woven. When a caterpillar prepares to become a butterfly, it requires absolute darkness. In the same way, God is hiding this soul away, blurring the tracks of the chosen one from the eyes of the secular world, to perform major spiritual surgery. In that profound solitude, old wounds are brought to the surface to be healed. Illusions are stripped away, masks are torn off, and true strength begins to recharge from within. This silence is not an empty void, it is the only space clean enough to hear the guiding voice of the Most High. But behind the seemingly safe silence of that cocoon, there is a much more chilling truth, a dark secret of energy manipulation that forced him to immediately order a total lockdown on the Chosen One's life. This lockdown wasn't activated merely for evolution. It was triggered because the spiritual life of this soul was being directly threatened by phantoms disguised as acquaintances. The dark secret about the forces silently draining your life force will soon be exposed. But the most terrifying question is this: if this isolation isn't just for protection, then who or what is God trying to separate you from? The answer lies in the next few minutes, and when it is revealed, you will never look at your life the same way again. Has the thought ever crossed your mind that your current season of quiet seclusion was never an accident? If the Creator was forced to use his invisible hand to gently lift the Chosen One out of familiar circles, separating you from the spaces that once brought a sense of safety, it is because he is standing from a far broader vantage point. He sees through the layers of fog that mortal eyes cannot perceive. Behind seemingly harmless faces, behind relationships you thought were soulmates, there are actually discordant currents of energy flowing. They have been silently draining the life force out of the Chosen One day after day. And that is the true, core reason why this life was forced to enter a state of emergency spiritual protection. The roadblocks on the journey of awakening rarely appear in the form of massive storms. In the real world, these hindrances are laid out invisibly through friendly smiles, endless complaining that hangs like grey clouds, stories drenched in negativity, and even the facade of moral concern from those closest to you. Low vibrational frequencies cannot obscure a radiantly shining soul through physical force. Instead, they borrow the guise of envy, judgment, or profound ignorance to act as tools to drain your spiritual light. When the Chosen One carries a pure energy source and boundless compassion bestowed by the universe, hollow souls will unconsciously flock to them like mistletoe finding a massive tree trunk. They latch onto your kindness, using your grace as an invisible pipeline to fill the heavy void inside themselves. The aftermath left behind following every conversation and every encounter is an exhausted body, a choked-up chest, a barren mind, and a complete loss of direction. But the Creator sees right through this entire veil of illusion. He knows exactly who is smiling to your face while secretly planting seeds of exhaustion into your subconscious. The headaches, the heaviness in your chest, and the unreasonable depletion of your life force lately are absolutely not signs of physical decline. That is your spiritual compass sounding the alarm, directly activated by the universe right inside your body. He is using this very exhaustion to pull back the curtain on these manipulations. He is guiding your intuition to recognize who is the wind beneath your eagle wings, and who is the rusted anchor endlessly dragging this life down into the mud. The time has come to gently let go of the entanglements that no longer belong in your future. Absolutely do not let yourself drown in guilt when you have to take a step back, close a few doors, or decisively smile and turn your back on the noisy crowds. Stubbornly holding onto a withered branch just because it has been attached for a long time is the fastest way to drain the lifeblood out of the whole tree. The Creator is playing the role of a diligent gardener, and this process of pruning away the deadwood leaves no room for weakness or worldly regrets. Every bit of withdrawing right now is to allow the roots to drive deeper into the earth, preparing for a season of the most brilliant blooming. If, deep down, your intuition is resonating and confirming that every single word here is meant for you, please leave an amen in the comments or drop an illuminated emoji. That isn't just a tap on a screen. It is your statement of agreement sent to the universe to officially cast off every burden, ready to welcome the refreshing rain of purification. So, now that you realize this isolation is not accidental, now that you understand God is using separation to protect your soul from misguided influences, the next thing you must engrave in your mind is this: there is an incredibly dangerous reflex that you must absolutely not let yourself fall into. Do not try to justify your changes to people who were not meant to understand you. Do not lower the standards of your soul just to keep being accepted. Do not force yourself back into relationships that have begun to fracture just out of the fear of being seen as strange. And above all, never use compromise to trade for a bit of fleeting warmth from the crowds that God is quietly pulling you away from. The Bible says it very clearly, "Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness?" 2 Corinthians 6:1-4. That verse is not just about faith. It is a warning about any connection that wears away your light and derails the core identity that God is building within you. Because if you do that, you are trying to use your own two hands to pry open the doors that God Himself has shut. And that is an incredibly subtle trap. The enemy does not always appear in the form of obvious opposition. Often, it sneaks in through the fear of loneliness, through the feeling of being abandoned, through the panicked urge to run back to where you were, just to find a little bit of the familiar. It makes you think that going back is peace, that giving in is wisdom, that trying to blend back in is saving yourself. But the truth is, if you go back too soon to the old people, the old habits, and the old circles that God is purging from your life, the entire process of healing and refinement will be obstructed. That is no different from a person whose prison door has just been opened. The key is already in their hand, yet out of fear of the vast open sky, they voluntarily step back inside. The familiar is not always what is right. There are places that once made you feel safe, but were actually just a cage wrapped in a sense of familiarity. There are people who once made you feel connected, but over time have turned into energy leaks that you yourself do not even realize. Therefore, do not chase after approval. Do not beg anyone to stay. Do not bend yourself out of shape to fit into places that God has decreed you no longer belong. If you keep doing so, you will not only lose the peace that is currently being restored, but you are also very likely to lose the spiritual discernment that God is planting back inside of you. Instead, the right strategy right now is divine surrender. Let go of the need to control everything. Let whoever wants to walk away. Walk away. Let whichever door needs to close. Close. Let the crowds out there misunderstand you if they want to. Judge you if they want to. Call you weird if they want to. Not all silence is weakness. There is a kind of silence that is the sign of a soul being covered by God and preserved for a new season, right now. Your task is not to explain yourself, but to reclaim your energy. It is not to run outward hunting for answers, but to turn inward, to hold on to your clarity. Lock your senses against unnecessary noise. Walk away from the places that make your mind heavy. Stop trying to please everyone. And above all, entrust yourself to the unseen but precise guidance of God. Because He does not pull you out of something without simultaneously preparing a better path up ahead. There are seasons where the most powerful thing you can do is not to react, but to stand still in faith. It's not about holding on, but about letting go of the exact things God is taking away. It's not about trying to prove you are right, but letting God complete His purifying work in His own way. But then comes a massive question after letting go, after stepping back. How do you know where God is truly leading you? The next part will reveal the signs to help you recognize that direction much more clearly. Type Amen down in the comments right now if you believe that God is pulling you apart to protect you, purify you, and lead you into a new season. When all external connections are severed, the most intense process of inner transformation will begin to take place. Do not panic when you find yourself lacking any motivation for the goals you used to chase, or feeling completely empty, as if your entire past memory and old identity are being erased. This is exactly the transitional void, the quiet, dark space sitting between the old self that has died and the new self that has not yet fully emerged. Just like spiritual alchemy, the fire of God is burning away all impurities, unhealed traumas, false prejudices, insecurities, and even your attachments to petty material things. He is smashing the old operating system to completely restructure your spiritual DNA. This wobbly, blind phase is absolutely mandatory. The Creator cannot build a prosperous kingdom on a foundation that has rotted away. He cannot hand over a magnificent mission or a world-shaking power to a mind that still trembles under the gaze of others. The chosen one must walk through this valley of metamorphosis so that the vessel of the soul can be expanded, strong enough to shoulder the weight of the crown and the glorious light that is about to be bestowed. Without destruction, there will never be rebirth. However, during this ruthless purification process, a subtle psychological poison often surfaces: guilt. There will be times when your inner self will blame you. Am I being too cold? Is blocking contact and cutting off ties with people I used to be close with an act of ingratitude, selfishness, and cruelty? Erase that imaginary guilty verdict immediately. That guilt does not come from God. It is the programming of a toxic society, where people are forced to set themselves on fire just to keep others warm. Replace it with a higher, supreme definition. Setting ironclad boundaries and decisively turning your back on low vibrational sources is not cruelty. It is an act of honoring and protecting the temple of God. The life, the time, and the energy of the chosen one are sacred assets belonging to the Creator. No one has the right or permission to walk in and carelessly siphon away those assets. Cutting ties with low vibrations is absolute loyalty to your mission of light. Refusing to please the crowd is the highest level of self-love. Do not bow your head in apology for bravely protecting your soul. Hold your head up high, because that decisiveness is the exact sign of a spiritual king or queen who has officially awakened, ready to take back the scepter of their own life. Engrave this deeply into your mind, this quiet, harsh winter is coming to its final moments. The tears shed in the dark, the silent torments, the suffocating loneliness you have had to carry all this time have finished their job. The Creator did not weave this cocoon to imprison you forever. The period of divine isolation is coming to an end, and the most brutal phase of testing is truly behind you. The Bible declares, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning," Psalm 30. Woo. That verse is no longer just a distant comfort. It is becoming the living reality for the very season you are about to step into. Prepare your spirit for a spectacular turnaround. In just a very short time from now, the entire flow of energy surrounding your life will reverse its course. The doors that were once sealed shut will no longer be cold walls, but will be replaced by wide-open avenues flooded with light. There will be no more desperate struggles, no more feeling like you have to use all your strength to claw out an invisible path. Instead, there will be a strange, undeniable flow of absolute precision. God is about to place into the orbit of your life new people who carry the exact right frequency, the right teachers at the right time. Genuine connections, worthy partners, and opportunities for prosperity tailored perfectly to the destiny He preordained for you. And just imagine who is going to step out of this major soul surgery. There will be no trace left of the weak version of you, the one easily manipulated and always starving for the crowd's approval. The new version preparing to rise is a warrior carrying a sovereign energy, calm yet full of authority, gentle yet utterly untouchable. The magnetic field you radiate will be so powerful that the moment you step into a room, any misguided noise will naturally halt, and darkness will have to step back. That aura, that intuition, that inner strength will shatter every last doubt. The scepter of your life is being handed back into the very hands of the one who deserves to hold it. But wait. Do not leave just yet. Don't turn off the screen right now, because the most crucial turning point that determines the success or failure of this entire process has not yet been revealed. To truly break through the final layer of the cocoon and step into the position God has prepared for you, there is still one decisive activation step that must be performed. Even a tiny misalignment at this moment could cause your breakthrough to be delayed much longer than you think. One final key is waiting for you in the very next part. Keep your focus steady, because the moment that shifts, your destiny begins right now. To break through that final shell of the cocoon and officially step into the era of prosperity, the Creator does not require elaborate rituals or exhausting physical efforts. The only thing He asks for right now is absolute spiritual consent. The activation key is not out there somewhere. It lies right within the very words about to be spoken from inside you. At this exact moment, no matter where you are, place one hand over your heart. Feel the strong beat of life flowing through every vein. Your intuition is vibrating because it knows this is the crossover moment of your destiny. It is time to sign a new pact with the universe, officially ending the era of suffering and opening the era of mastery. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let your mind repeat this sacred vow. From this moment on, every shackle of the past, every drain on my energy, and every illusion of guilt is officially burned away. Isolation is no longer a pain, it is a throne being established. I allow myself to completely let go of the people, the environments, and the vibrations that no longer serve my journey of light. I fully accept the guidance of the Creator, ready to receive the abundance, the true love, and the limitless power that have been prepared for me. The darkness has been left behind. The time to shine has arrived. As these intentions are cemented, a massive shift in energy will take place immediately. You will feel a rush of clean, pure air fill your chest, washing away every burden that has clung to you all this time. Your shoulders will no longer be heavy, and an incredibly profound, quiet peace will wash over your entire body. The message has been fully delivered. The truth has been brought to light. The lonely journey in the dark has officially come to an end. Now, open your eyes, stand up straight, and stretch your shoulders out with pride. You no longer need to fear any force, because you have the greatest defense system of the universe backing you up. Walk forward like someone who already knows their own glorious ending. He is smiling. Everything has been perfectly arranged. Your grand breakthrough begins right at this very second. And so, the sacred message has been fully passed on. The covenant has been signed. Starting from this moment, the chosen one officially carries an entirely new vibrational frequency, an armor of protection that cannot be pierced by any lower forces. To close the door on the past and officially seal this energetic mark into reality, leave the words "ready to receive" down in the comments. That is not just a regular string of words, it is a spiritual signature, a confirming feedback signal sent straight up to the universe that the cocoon has been broken. Save this message as an energetic anchor whenever worldly exhaustion or the shadows of doubt try to creep back in to test you. Turn this back on to remind yourself of your true power. And if your intuition is strongly urging you, send this message to another soul, someone who might also be struggling and suffocating in their own lonely cocoon without having found a way out. Sharing this right now is the very first act of spreading light from the brand new version of you. The light has shone through. The darkness has stepped back. Keep striding forward with the grace and bearing of a sovereign. The most supreme protection of all walks with you. In every single breath,